finally, I've got the iPhone SE. So, you guys, if you've watched the channel for any amount of time, you guys know how much I love the iPhone SE, especially the original one. This is one of my favorite phones Apple has ever made. I love everything about it, the design, the body, the feel, but most likely, I think the thing I loved the most about it was just that the idea of it, of a smaller form factor phone, but a older style body, but a more recognizable, more familiar packaging that, you know, allows people to experience Apple, but not have to pay premium money, not have to pay $700,000 to experience it. So the iPhone SE has always just had this really special place in my heart. So when this came out in March, you know, I've been following the rumor trains for years. And when this came out in March, I was so excited, but also a little bit disappointed because I couldn't get my hands on one. So, you know, because of quarantine and everything, just things didn't line up. But, you know, I just kept passing on it. But finally, I decided, especially since the OnePlus Nord has come out and the Google Pixel 4a has come out, that these phones are just like, this mid-range is so amazing right now. I have to get it right now. So here it is, the iPhone SE in the iPhone SE 2020 is what it's officially called, I believe, but the iPhone SE 2 2020, whatever you want to call it, in 128 gig in black. So they no longer call it space gray, but I'm pretty sure it's the same color. I have my iPhone 8 Plus in space gray, so we can compare if it's any different, but it's now space gray, product red, and you get a white. But all three have a black front, which I love. It's awesome. So let's get right to unboxing it, and a very familiar iPhone unboxing feel. Like, it doesn't feel like you're unboxing a $400 phone, which I experienced recently with the OnePlus Nord. It's cheap, but the box showed it. But this is the same unboxing experience, the same box, the same quality, everything you get when you unbox a very expensive $1,000+ iPhone as well. So that's just fantastic. So pull tab right here, as you guys can see. This pull tab comes on every iPhone box. So let's just pull it off, and the plastic will come off very neatly on all sides. Look at that. Perfect. Let me put that to the side, and let's look at the box itself. Very simple. Got this cool yellow and green wallpaper going here. iPhone on the sides, tops, and the back just has the information storage, all the IMEI and other info. So this, you know, the outside of the box is not that interesting. The inside isn't either, but let's check it out. Designed by Apple in California. All right. Let's lift up the paperwork, put it to the side, and boom. So one thing I did notice is that the iPhone 11 Pros and 11 now come in facing the other way. So you see the back, the first thing you do when you open it, but this still comes facing upward. So that's an interesting thing. All right, pulling it out. Fantastic. It looks great. I love this black. It looks good. So it feels a little bit weird seeing the centered Apple logo. I completely forgot about this. So the iPhone 8 has the older style where the Apple logo is a little bit higher, and there's iPhone written as well. So you guys can see this is a little bit different. It'll take a little bit of time for me to get used to, but this looks fantastic. Let me just put this off to the side real quick. You get your charger, 5-watt, of course. You get your headphones, you get your charging cable, your lightning cable, and that's about it. The box is just the essentials, nothing else. So let me lift this up, pull it out to the side, and put the box to the side. So before I do anything else, let's go ahead and listen to that amazing peel. What do you call it? A peel? I don't know. Let's get the plastic off, and it's always such a satisfying sound. So I'm going to get my mic as close as I can to the camera. So let's go ahead and do this. All right, here you guys go. And there goes the plastic. Always a very satisfying feeling. So let me get this mic back on, and let's keep moving. And before I do anything else, let's get a tempered glass screen protector onto this phone before I get it all smudged up and scratched up. This is the Spygen Glass TR. I don't know the exact name, but it's fantastic. All right, so let's go ahead. Tempered glass installed. Let's go ahead and show you guys the phone. So it looks fantastic. You know, very clean Apple design. It's just a simple, clean look. That's what Apple goes for all the time as well. So it's not very surprising, you know, that it's a clean look. And already fingerprinting up. So just always got to have a cloth around with these smartphones nowadays, the glass-backed ones. So you guys can see identical on the back. Really, there's nothing that differentiates them. The tops, the sides, everything is the same. The button placement, it's all just identical. Now, one thing I am noticing is for sure is that this aluminum on the side is most definitely a lot darker than the 8 was, which I will pull up right here so you guys can see. This is space gray, and that's aluminum, and it is definitely darker. So there is a difference in color. And the back, you know, I think if you were very carefully paying attention, you could say it's a little bit darker on the iPhone SE, but really it's more or less the same. The sides, way more noticeable. That I can tell right off the bat. This definitely reminds me of the iPhone 7 Black more than anything else. So yeah, this phone definitely feels really good in hand. The 8 has always just been, you know, that perfect size. Whoever uses it, they've always loved it, and I think that this is a great size. So let me boot it up and then set it up, and I'll give you guys my initial impressions on the iPhone SE 2020. Alright guys, so I just spent the last couple of minutes setting the phone up, playing around with it, comparing it to the iPhone 8, and there's a lot to talk about. But before I do any of that, let's talk about the spec. First things first, the display, same exact thing. The design is very much so the same as well. There's not much to differentiate between the two. You know, they're literally identical to each other. There's nothing changed about the design on both of these. They are very identical, and that's not a bad thing at all, you know, because it's a very good design in my opinion. There's a few changes, mainly consisting of hardware. So the iPhone SE 2020 comes with an Apple A13 Bionic chip. That is the same chip that you find in the flagship iPhone 11 and 11 Pro. A fantastic, fantastic addition, I think. It's going to be a very powerful, very long-term reliable device. And this is not underpowered in any way. It is very, very equal. They haven't slowed it down or, you know, reduced its capacity in any way to make the, you know, the more expensive phones have a little bit of an edge. No, that's not going on. It's a full-powered Apple the A13 Bionic chip. Moving on, let's talk about storage options. You get 64, 128, and 256 gigs of storage on this. All of them come with 3 gigs of RAM standard, but I think that that's a little bit of a letdown. I would have liked to see 4 gigs of RAM, because right now iOS does good with optimization, so it'll be okay right now. But 2 years down the line, this is going to be struggling. You know, apps are really big now; they're very intense, and it really this phone would have benefited with a little bit more RAM, especially as it ages. And that's one part where I think the Android competitors are going to have a big edge, because they have 8 gigs of RAM standard, and it's just, you know, the lack of hardware will start to show at some point here with the iPhone SE. Moving on, let's talk about the cameras. The cameras are identical on both the iPhone 8 and the iPhone SE 2020, but the iPhone SE 2020 does have the iPhone 11's image processing. I will explain what that is later, and I'll show you guys examples of why that's important. But let's move on and talk about battery. Now, battery is it's something that I think is going to be the weakest link on this phone, and because it's a very tiny 1,821 milliamp hour battery. That's just really small. I think Apple should have somehow found some space to bump that up. It's just not enough, especially with, you know, competitors like the OnePlus Nord that have a 4,000 milliamp hour battery. It's just crazy, right? Even if, I don't care how optimized you get, the lack of hardware is gonna show itself at some point, and this is gonna be one of those areas, I think. And then, you know, I think everything else beyond that, there's really only positives. It's got IP68 water and dust resistance that very few phones at this price range have. It's got wireless charging, which none of its competitors, I mean direct competitors at least, the iPhone SE, the OnePlus Nord or the Google Pixel 4a have. And this is, you know, it supports fast charging. It's got all the goodies. It doesn't come with a fast charger in the box, but that's a different story altogether. Now, moving on, let me talk about the camera. So I told you guys I was going to talk about this. And while these two have the same sensor, people have a misconception that more megapixels or a newer camera is going to give you better photos. That's not really the case. I'll show you right now. Both of these have the same exact camera, but let me load up this photo. Now this is same photo taken same exact time on these two phones. And if you guys see, I'll put these images on screen for you guys to compare because you're not going to be able to see them clearly from here. If you guys notice, the iPhone 8, the can of Sprite just looks fuzzy and kind of fuzzed out, whereas the SE is a lot clearer. The details are a lot cleaner, and it doesn't have as much noise. And that's a consistent trend. You'll notice, just look at this next image of my microphone. This was not a complicated shot anyway. It was just my microphone was lying there, so I took a photo, and that was that. And you guys can see there's just so much more detail on the SE compared to the iPhone 8. And this is, again, same exact sensor. So the real difference is the image processing. And that's an important thing. Another thing, look at dynamic range. Dynamic range is also an important aspect that, the thing is, all this needs a lot of processing power. So the A13 can do this, the A10 on this can't. Now, look at this photo. Both of them at first glance look very similar. However, when you look at the iPhone SE, you'll notice that there is a lot more dynamic range. That means that the exposure of the light behind me is done properly. It hasn't overexposed and made everything just wash out. Whereas look at the iPhone 8, everything literally above my head is washed out. It's just a huge white, just flash. It's not clear at all. There's no details behind it, and that shows very clearly that the processing does a big part in showing what photos can be. The sensor can be amazing, but if the processing isn't great, you'll get poor results. So that's a fantastic addition. I'm glad they did that. And winding up, let's talk about all the other small things. So I did notice that the speakers are just a little bit better on the iPhone SE. The quality is very similar, but what is better is the volume output. So this is a little bit louder than the iPhone 8, and the iPhone 8 by no means is bad at all. It's a really good speaker. I'd say one of the best you can get, So this having an improvement is just a big thing. It wasn't needed, but it's very welcome. And the body, the weight, everything feels very similar. And that's the thing about this phone. This wasn't meant for enthusiasts. This wasn't meant for people who enjoy tech or who know or understand tech. This phone was made as a utility, a tool. This wasn't made to be an enthusiast's dream, right? And I think people, especially us enthusiasts, very often forget that most consumers don't care, right? We care way too much about small stuff that people don't even know. So having a iPhone option where you can walk into a store and ask, hey, I want an iPhone, what can I get? And having an option for $400 that came out this year that'll last 5 years, it's a very hard argument to battle. It's like, wait, I can get this iPhone for $400 and then it'll run as it does. And from a lot of people, it'll be like they can still use the same cases and accessories they have as well if they're on the iPhone 8 or the iPhone 7. That's just another icing on the top. And I think that's exactly why Apple did what they did. They kept everything so familiar. They definitely cut the corner on the display here. They could have improved this, but it's not. It's just what it is. The display, though, I will say, there's nothing to complain about on this display, right? The only thing you can complain about is that it's not an AMOLED or it's not something that's higher quality or, there's no active complaint about this display. It gets more than bright enough. It's got good colors. The clarity looks perfect. Like I can't really see. If I saw this display and you told me it was a 1080p full, just like a really good, I wouldn't doubt you because at first glance it looks awesome, and it is. I've been using the iPhone 8 for a very long time, and the display is really good. And it carries over to this. So I know it's not the best display. This is definitely a corner they cut, and you can most definitely count that against Apple. But I personally think that this was the right call. I don't mind it. Yes, I would have preferred a better display, but I think that they made the right call here by saving money up here and putting it into the A13 chip instead. So that's it for this one, guys. Let me know what you guys think about the iPhone SE. I know this video ran a little bit longer than I wanted it to because I just wanted to give you my initial impressions. The unboxing part, it's very similar to every other iPhone, but the ethos of this phone and the way it's built, especially comparing it to the competition like the OnePlus Nord, is a very interesting, very unique thing, and I'm very much looking forward to how this range goes out, and I definitely want to see how it stacks up to the Google Pixel 4a as well. So that's it for this one, guys. If you have any questions or ideas about future videos for the iPhone SE 2020, if you'd like to see me compare it to some other phones, please let me know down in the comments below. I'll definitely be comparing it with both the iPhone 8 and the OnePlus Nord, so that's coming for sure. But if you have any other questions or ideas, feel free to leave them down in the comments below or hit me up on social media. I'll have all the links to my social media right over here. Go check me out, send me a message there, check out all my posts and stuff. I do a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and oftentimes you guys will have an idea of what video is going to come next if you follow me there. And be sure to subscribe to the channel for more iPhone SE and OnePlus Nord content coming very soon in the future. That's going to be it for this one, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.